Hello everyone, this is Teripper, and today I'm not playing a video game, but I am talking about one of my favorite games, if not my favorite game of all time, Dungeons & Dragons. And this game is my favorite game of all time. I just said it right there. What the hell is Dungeons & Dragons? Some of you are probably asking. Well, it's hard to explain, but I'm going to do my best. Imagine a world, a fantasy world, generally medieval fantasy, high magic universe where there are dragons and monstrosities and witches and wizards that want to do both benign and malevolent things to people and, well, good creatures across the world. The world needs heroes for this. This is the basic premise of any D&D game. The player, which is generally the person that is playing the game, obviously, is going to be one of those heroes. Now, there are various kinds of D&D games. There's a monstrous type of D&D game where the players sometimes play monsters, or there's a villainous campaign where the players sometimes play evil people. Generally, however, it is usually where the players are playing as heroes in the world, but they start off as quite nascent little creatures. So what you're seeing on screen right now is not particularly important for the very moment, because I'm going to be talking a little bit about how to, first and foremost, get kind of interested into D&D, see if it's something you'd like to try out. First, this right now is my D&D game, the one that I run. I run currently 2 Dungeons & Dragons games and play in 1 or 2. I'm not sure about the second one just yet, but we'll get there. So, first and foremost, you will want to check out these 2 resources. Firstly, Critical Role. For any of you who have played D&D and who have heard of this show, you already know the gloriousness that is Matt Mercer. Matthew Mercer is the Dungeon Master for Critical Role, and side note, Dungeon Master is the person in Dungeons & Dragons who runs the game. They control everything and everyone in the world around the players to give them a living, breathing environment that they can play in. Anyway, Matt Mercer is the Dungeon Master of Critical Role, and he's a fantastic one at that. And Critical Role is probably one of the best orchestrated and best, put together online games of Dungeons & Dragons that you guys can watch. And everything is online, as you can see. I'm going to link this in the description. I'm going to put all the links to all the pages I'm showing you guys right now in the description. But this is probably one of the first ones you guys want to check out if you're interested in playing D&D. I don't have any of my D&D games up on my YouTube channel, but I am perhaps planning, if there's enough interest, to plop one up there. So stay tuned for that, potentially. And for those of you wondering what kind of edition of D&D, for those of you who have played D&D, there are many editions of D&D. First, second, third, 3.5, 4th, and 5th. I have played 2nd, 3.5, and 5th. I really only play 5th right now because it's really streamlined, it's really easy to play, and I'm going to show you just how easy to play it is. 5e, basic rules. You type that in, click basic rules for Dungeons & Dragons, and oh, would you look at that? Player's basic rules. Ba-bam. So, any of you who know anything about D&D, you probably know about these. You probably can't see these books. Hold on. So, I have a lot of D&D books. Here's just 3 of them. These are all the 5e books you need to be a Dungeon Master. This is the only book you need to be a long-term player. And the thing you see on screen right now is all you need to play. You could also use some dice, if you're doing it in person, that is. So, what's the point of all this? Why would I play D&D? Why is it fun? Well, I'm glad you asked. I think that's how we're going to move on to another channel, Matthew Colville. Now, Matthew Colville's videos are mostly meant for Dungeon Masters, and if you're interested in D&D whatsoever, I highly recommend you start off as a player. It'll get you into the game, get you into how to play a tabletop role-playing game, first and foremost. Get you into the mindset of how to play characters and how to express yourself through those characters, through the backgrounds and the backstories of those characters first. And DMs have a much more difficult job. Every NPC in the world that they create, they have to play. So, anyway, we're not going to talk about that. We'll talk about DMs later on. But right now, this is just for players. But even just for players, this guy's channel is fantastic. He does campaign diaries. He has done a couple games actually, of his group. I highly recommend you guys watch those. It's a very casual game, unlike the Critical Role game, which is, it almost seems scripted because they're all voice actors and they're all incredible at their jobs. But Matthew Colville is a really chill guy, and he's really fun to watch. So check out his stuff. Totally. And one of his videos in particular, I think you guys will want to check out the most. Basically, it's, welcome to Dungeons & Dragons. This is a video I'm going to link in the description specifically, because it is specifically for those people who are first-time Dungeons & Dragonsers. And he explains it much better than I do. If you're interested in getting into a physical tabletop game, which you will need these four, which you will need dice for. You're going to want dice, you're going to need pen and paper, you're going to need friends. That's a resource that I know a lot of people, me included, don't have in particularly high numbers. So, there is the internet, and on the internet resides myself and many other willing DMs to DM for many a player. Now, on to my sort of history with D&D. This is a very salient point, and I'm going to make it rather short. I wanted this to be a more or less short video just to kind of gauge interest on D&D, see if you guys are really sort of into that sort of thing. There was some great response and feedback to the last couple of videos where I mentioned it, but right now I'm going to talk about what I do with D&D. So I started off with D&D in 3.5, 3.5th edition, whatever, about 10 years ago. A long time. I've been playing D&D for a long time, 10 years. I started with 3.5. I moved into 2nd edition. I know it's weird, a step back. What? 2nd edition is a really interesting system. I'll make a video on that at some point if there's interest. I really enjoyed it, but it's really hardcore. And then I moved on to 5th edition, and that's what I'm playing with now. It's by far, in my opinion, the easiest to get people into. It's so streamlined, so flowy. It's great. It's fantastic. And I am seriously considering starting another 5th edition campaign just for viewers, and that would probably be streamed. So we'll see if that does in fact happen. I'm not completely certain it will, but if it does, you guys will know. So anyway, what are we looking at here? So let me give you a bird's eye view of the whole situation. This right here is roll20.net. If you go there right now, you'll be prompted with a homepage. You'll probably want to make an account. This is by far the best free solution, in my opinion, for running or playing in an online tabletop role-playing game. And I say free because there are better paid solutions, or so I hear. I haven't actually used them. Fantasy Grounds, I hear, is a really good one, but it costs a lot of money up front. I'm probably going to try it in the future, but right now Roll20 is fantastic. I am a pro subscriber on it. There's no reason to be a pro subscriber if you're a player, basically. You don't have to pay any money. But I like supporting the site. Anyway, so this is my main game. It's called The Nascent Few right now, for reasons. And this is my game world. And let me show you a bit of a better picture here. So this is what it started as. It started with just some very landmark points. And a side note here, I recommend you don't make a map for your first D&D game if you are DMing. I recommend you make either a very tiny map with points of interest, or you just find one online. There's so many good maps online, world maps. But I made my own because I'd never done it before, and it's fun. And I found this sick geographic map that somebody drew up for a commission, but it never got, the guy never got back to him, so he just posted it online, and I took it and covered it in words. This was my first draft. 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and final. This is what I'm currently using. This is the continent of Rostrum in the world of Deus. And I'll talk a bit more about my world in a future video if there's interest, but right now this is what I'm working with. It's a massive world. I like to DM my games in a very sandbox style, where I let the players out in the world, tell them some great evil is coming, or some such, and then tell them, go crazy. They can totally not give a flying fuck about the great evil, though, unlike in Skyrim, the great evil will get more powerful as they go fuck around. In Skyrim, you literally just level as the Alduin doesn't give a fuck. Anyway, this is my game world, and it's huge. But that's not necessarily the point. The point is that Roll20 is a fantastic online system, both for finding players and for running a game and for playing and really for everything. There's a whole looking for game system with a whole forum, which I could in fact show you right now. Hold on. Roll20.net. Doop-a-doop-a-doop. So this is what it looks like when you are in a bunch of games like me. This is the homepage. And if you go to Games and you go to Find a Group, it will take you to this handy-dandy search thingy. So any system, any game, any time even, any time or day you can find. I've found a lot of good games with this this system. So even if I do end up running a game and you don't get into it, there's so many choices. So many choices. And there's a lot of DMs who are better than me. I'll say that outright, because I know a couple. Anyway, to the actual interface itself, it's fantastic. It's really easy to use. It can take a little while to get acclimated with, but once you are familiar with the system, it's very easy to just drop in, play a game, and have some fun. Dice rolling is as easy as click. Look, I roll the dice. These are a little more complicated things to set up. These are macros, but you can literally just type /R 1d20. Same thing. And there's a whole tutorial with it, and it's great. It explains everything much better than I can. I can do a video on Roll20, like a sort of impromptu tutorial on it, but I think the site does it the best. And over here, we have the journal. The journal is by far my favorite thing about Roll20 because it is such a great way to just store everything about a campaign. I probably shouldn't, because if Roll20 goes down, then my whole campaign's gone, but I digress. It's really nice, and it's pretty. So these are all my player characters right now. I've got 5. This is actually one of my largest games that I've ever run, but it seems to be working out quite well. And these are just some relevant materials. These are the notes for each character that they keep on their own. You can hide notes and handouts until you need to send them to every player, and you can send them to every player at once, which is really, really cool. Here is Rostrum. There are 12 kingdoms and various sort of sub-geographical areas within those kingdoms that I have marked out. So every kingdom, let's take the Corinthian Republic. It's a place my party may be going soon. It's got a lot of people. I use this system a lot more than most DMs, or so I think. But that's just me. You can use it to whatever extent you like. As you can see, I have gone way overboard. I have folders in folders in folders. I have like quadruple nested things in some places because it works for me. But that's the great thing about Roll20. It works for you. There's so many different ways to make it the system. I say system, but I mean platform for your role-playing experience. You can set up 3D dice, so instead of just rolling it, having it show up there, the dice can actually fly out for everyone in the game if they have it checked off, which is so cool. Anyway, I'm just gushing about Roll20 at this point. I think I got everything I wanted to get out of the way, just to go over everything again. If you are at least somewhat interested in Dungeons & Dragons, I highly recommend you start off with Critical Role. Watch at least the first episode. I'm a lazy son of a bitch, so I have only watched the first episode, despite really liking it. It's a long show. It's about 3 hours, roughly an episode, 3 or 4 hours. But you can watch it in chunks. It's great. It's almost like a movie. It's pretty cool. So check that out first and foremost if you think you might be interested. This will give you the best idea. However, just playing it would be another great idea. So if you have no idea at all, ask some of your friends who are really nerdy. They probably play D&D. It's a good chance. And after you've gone here, maybe check out some of Matthew Colville's videos. He mostly makes videos for Dungeon Masters, but even if you're not a Dungeon Master, he's really entertaining to watch. So check him out. And then my campaign, which I may be opening up to you guys at some point, if there's interest, once again. So thank you guys very much for watching. I think we're going to cut it here, but if you guys have any questions about Dungeons & Dragons, any suggestions for videos I might make on it, please feel free to ask them in the comments below. I will answer as much as I can, because this is, as I said in the beginning, one of my favorite games of all time. Fantastic. It's brought me so many of my most long-term friends in my life, and it's so much fun. So I'm going to cut it short there. Thank you guys very much for watching. As always, have a grand day. See you guys next time. Bring it to their walls. Get to the court. Bring it to their walls. Get to the court. Bring it to their walls. Get to the court.